Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Fandomology, where fandoms collide. We are back finally with part 2 of our beginner series on Friday Nights at Freddy's. I said Friday Nights at Freddy's.
Friday Nights at Freddy's? What? Friday Nights at Freddy's.
That's a very different game right there. 5 Nights at Freddy's is what I meant to say. But anyways, we're back. We got Jeff with us again. A little bit of housekeeping to take care of before we begin. You'll notice that I have a stream already scheduled on the channel for tomorrow. That is the beginning of that is the first Dark Souls 3 stream as requested by Trent, and kind of detailing out, kind of tying back into something I said at the last stream that I did back when I first came back from being sick with COVID, is I am going to start scheduling things out more in advance. So while there might be 1 or 2 surprise gaming streams that pop up here every now and then, I'm also going to start scheduling out major gaming streams in advance, as advised by Cash and Pacific. So that's pretty much what's going on there. So now that we got that stuff out of the way, where we last left off with Five Nights at Freddy's is in part 1, we talked about FNAF 1 through 4. So the first one, the second one, which is a prequel to the first one, then the third one, which has the killer in a zombie bunny suit stalking you, and he's the only one that can kill you, and then number 4, where everything's a nightmare.
Where the phantoms actually jump scare you while Springtrap tries to find and kill you.
Exactly. So that brings us now to Sister Location. But before we get into Sister Location, real quick, there's one aspect of FNAF 4, and I'm sorry for springing this on you just now, Jeff. I don't remember if we talked about this, Jeff, last time, but we got to talk about the box.
Which is actually an interesting thing.
So, for those that don't know, the box was something that appeared if you beat the hardest challenge mode on Five Nights at Freddy's 4 prior to the Halloween update. And it lets you fiddle around with the padlocks before the text, "Perhaps some things are best left forgotten, ...
For now.
appears. But then in the Halloween update, Scott Cawthon, the guy who made the game, said that basically he was unsatisfied with how people couldn't figure out what the box truly was. And he also said a very interesting line. Basically summing it up, I could reveal what's in the box, but would the fans accept it that way? And he tied it all up by saying, perhaps some things are best left forgotten forever. So, what is your take on all of that?
For me, I've actually looked in on this. They said that, and actually in FNAF 4, there was going to be a scene where the box actually opened, like you just said, that he could have shown what was in the box, but would the fans approve? After that comment with him, he instantly scrapped that part of the game to make the box stay locked forever until the glitch attraction came around, and then we found out what was finally in the box. Which the glitch attraction is the newest FNAF game out there, but it's like a fan made one. It has like all the games collided together from 1 to Security Breach,
right?
And there's a scene where the box actually opens up because you actually have to open the box in order to move on to the next room, which is in the FNAF 4 room, and that's the first room you instantly go into. When you open the box in the glitch attraction, there's a key in there and a puzzle piece, but on rare occasions in the glitch attraction, it actually shows what was actually in the box. And from what I saw, I actually got this Easter egg in the box. It's Nightmare's. It's like Nightmare's exact hand from FNAF 4.
Really?
With Plushtrap's head in there.
That is interesting. But again, this comes from a fan game, correct?
Yes, but it's based upon in the FNAF series genre.
I know, but again, it's a fan game, so can we really take that as Scott's true intentions with that?
That's what I'm thinking, because that's the only time you see the box be opened.
Well,
And
I
from
know
music
that
videos I've seen on about the box, it actually shows Nightmare's hand coming out of the box in the music videos as well.
I know that there was like in the like deep into the source file, I know that there was sprites that showed the box open, but of course it never showed the contents. And of course, we got to bring him up. Game theory theorized that this all led to the fact that this is all dreams in the mind of a lobotomized child that basically died.
Yes, and that's the reason why the kid is having these nightmares of these monsters, because another thing that was in FNAF 4 is Foxy in the closet. When you flash on him, he went away and he turned into a plush.
Yes.
So basically, what that is saying with Foxy being a plush in the closet, this is just all in this kid's head. Why he's turning his toys into these monsters that are trying to kill him.
Yeah, so the idea that it is just a dream, people already don't like the "it was just a dream" trope. So I think Scott was right to put the brakes on that, if that's indeed what it was going to be. What do you think?
That's actually how I see it too.
Yeah. But so yeah, we never got the true idea of what was in the box. So from
Just
there,
soak in with Nightmare's hand and Plush Trap's head.
right. So from there was this big. So I don't think we mentioned this also in part one, but for each of the games, there would be a little teaser image that would appear on Scott Cawthon's personal website, scottgames.com. And after the completion of FNAF 4 and the Halloween update, all that you saw for the longest time was a picture of every single animatronic there waving at you saying, "Thank you for playing the game." But then suddenly and very slowly, each of the animatronics started changing from their original model to a more cutesy style. And this became the first teasers of FNAF World. And
Which was actually quite a fun game. I appreciated it.
it's definitely a fun game. I've played it a little bit, but there's no escaping the fact that overall that game was a dud.
And Scott specifically said to us that he's not proud of FNAF World because it didn't get a lot of sales.
Right.
But there are a couple of characters that are actually in FNAF World that actually appeared out of FNAF World, which goes into Sister Location. But we'll talk about FNAF World first.
Correct. So, first off, you're going to know way, way, way more about this than me because I didn't even watch people play this through. I never watched any Let's Plays of this, but basically FNAF World is like a JRPG style game, at least on the surface, where you play as all the different FNAF animatronics and you've got the turn-based combat, but there's a deeper lore, as always, with it that basically lines up with the Happiest Day minigame from FNAF 3. Is that correct?
Yes.
So, why do you think the game was made this way?
Because I think what Scott was trying to go through with this, after FNAF World's, not FNAF World, but FNAF 4's popularity, he wanted to like ease down on like the scares and like make like a happy game. Like his first game that he made was Chippers and Sons Lumber Company, which
Right.
there's a couple of characters that are in FNAF World that are from that game.
Okay.
But then like all of a sudden you go from this cutesy game into like this RPG kind of thing, and then it's like starts to turn terrifying, and there's like a whole bunch of different stuff going on in the background. Which brings me to Old Man Consequences. His minigame in Ultimate Custom Night, which I'll talk about when we get to Ultimate Custom Night, which is going to be like at the end of the stream. But Old Man Consequences is one of those characters that actually made an appearance in FNAF World.
Which
And
was
what Old Man Consequences is, I think what he's supposed to represent is Cassidy trying to Cassidy just outfits hate William because of William killing all of them. And I think Old Man Consequences is trying to keep Cassidy's anger under control, but he can't control it like a full thing, because I think Old Man Consequences, I think they're related to Cassidy. That's by some point. That people are saying it's Henry as the Old Man Consequences, which Henry is Cassidy's dad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, I don't know that much at all about FNAF World, so I'm just gonna take your word for it. Let me ask you this.
Oh, go ahead.
No, you say what you were gonna say first, because my question's gonna kind of wrap up FNAF World. So go ahead and say whatever it is.
There's two characters that we had that never made an appearance out of FNAF World except for one of the bosses, Mendo, which he's pretty much just the person that gives you like equipment and stuff. So it's not really much to talk about. But Bubba, I'm actually quite surprised they actually made a fan game for Bubba, because Bubba was not like a very rememberable character from FNAF World, but they made a fan game of him. So
yeah.
So I think that's what kicked Bubba out of FNAF World and make it just a fan game of that. But that's enough. That's enough about FNAF World. That's pretty much all I know. And there's like these secret rooms in FNAF World that are so hard, that are just like hard to explain.
So with that, then, my final question as far as FNAF World goes is, would you ultimately recommend that someone track down and play it?
If you want to get more lore about FNAF World, I recommend playing it, but I also recommend not to play it, because it gets very tedious like later on in the game.
Yeah.
But there is some lore in FNAF World that you can get from it, that tells you like what happened in like the FNAF 1 restaurant.
Right.
And you can customize your team any way you feel like it. Yeah, that's another thing. So
also, you won't get tired of my voice, will you?
Okay, Toy Chica. We'll get on to that when we get to Ultimate Custom Night.
Yeah.
With the voice lines.
Excuse me. But what I was referencing there is a part of FNAF World that's basically spoofing Star Fox 64. And Chica, of course, is playing the part of Slippy.
Exactly.
But moving on, also around this time, and we'll go ahead and mention these. I know you don't know that much about them. I kind of do. I started reading the first one a little bit. We don't have to go into the lore of them, but we will mention them, and that is the 3 novels. So there's the Silver Eyes, there is the Twisted Ones, and then the 4th Closet to finish them up. So
the Twisted Ones is probably the one that's the most memorable, because it has more characters added to it.
Right. So with that, Scott basically said he wanted to do almost a reimagining of the story. Tell the story of the FNAF franchise through a different lens. Is that about right?
Yes.
So there's actually 2 different ways that you can consume this story. You can go out and read the original novels. You can find them excuse me. You can find them still even in Walmart today, or if you want pictures, you can go and find the graphic novels. I've read the graphic novels all the way through, and they are very good. Although I do have to point out one flaw with the graphic novels. So in the first book, this is where we basically learn, and these books are important because this is where we're first given the official name of the purple guy, William Afton. However, in the first book, he goes under a fake name called Dave, and he plays a night guard that lures the kids into the old defunct pizzeria. In the first book, you do read the name William Afton, and yet they never once mention the name William Afton in the graphic novel, and yet by the time you get to graphic novel number 2, they already know Afton's name. So there's a little bit of a continuity error in that, but I'd still recommend them.
Because the 3 novels are actually interesting. There's interesting facts in them. I've actually read like bits and pieces of them from other people reading them, but not too much.
Yeah.
The one I've seen more and more of is the Twisted Ones, because that one seemed interesting. That's where it adds another version of the characters.
Yeah, it's
and
definitely
a new character too.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting read if you haven't read them, and I'll tell you this too: you do not have to have played the games to understand the books. Anyone can jump into the books and understand the story just fine. But while the books were coming out, Scott was working on another game that ultimately would become Sister Location, and that's the game that I have from our background. And I believe Jeff has a special intro for this game.
Oh, yes, I do. I see you were having trouble with the keypad. I see what you were trying to type, and I will autocorrect it for you. Welcome.
Yep.
Thanks, Benedict.
Yeah, so basically, Phone Guy is replaced by let's just say Siri, but somehow even crappier.
It's an AI, artificial intelligence.
Yeah, it
goes by the name Hand Unit.
So this time around, instead of just sitting in an office and letting the animatronics come to you, at least during the main portion of the gameplay, go to the animatronics, at least in a sense. You actually move around yourself to different parts of the facility and perform different tasks. Now, the first night, just like with FNAF 3, nothing really happens, which again, I'm kind of not the biggest fan of.
Something needs to happen. It really does.
Yeah. Now, I will say, it's definitely more atmospheric than FNAF 3 is. So, first off, we are going to kind of go by, we kind of have to go beat for the story, what happens in this game, because
this is when the game starts to get, this is when the game series starts to get like more and more complex and stuff.
Yeah. And before Pizzeria Simulator, this is definitely the most lore dense of all of the games.
Oh, there's a whole bunch of facts I could talk about FNAF and Sister Location and some interesting things that happen around the building.
Right. So first off, in the opening cutscene, this is the first time we ever hear the name William Afton. And hello in the chat to Phil McCracken saying, "Oh, them pillows." Jeff, watch this. Shut up, Phil. Wait, hold on. I think I have a clip. I think I have a voice line for that. Wait, no, I don't.
Darn.
Oh well. But I know he likes this clip.
You again. Damn you.
Just telling you a little bit more about Phil, Jeff. He also said he also doesn't like Picard in Star Trek because he says he can't throw a punch. And yet I just showed him proof that he can.
You going to show images of these characters too from the game, or at the end?
Actually, yeah. I hadn't counted on that, but let me get that up and going real quick.
So these people know what these characters look like. These are actually William Afton's creations that he made.
Yes. So I'll bring. Okay, so what I'm about to
Baby
show you
and
guys
Ballora are probably the best two to bring in.
So what I'm about to show you guys are, this is a fan-made picture. This is like fan renderings, but this is basically the Sister Location characters, including the ones that got added in DLC. So front and center of this game is Circus Baby. So she is now the main character, at least of the animatronics for this game. And pretty much from nights 2 onward, she, at least you think it's her, talks you through the game, telling you sort of the truth of what's going on. And then off to the far right, second from the right, here, you have Ballora. And she is built up, at least by Baby's voice, to be the biggest threat. Then, of course, there is Funtime Foxy, who is the one on the right here with the bow tie. Funtime Freddy, who has a bonbon, hand puppets.
That helps him calm down.
And that's all we're going to talk about of the characters for now. So I'm going to take that down for a second.
And
so,
oh, go ahead.
Yeah, it's all right. So, like I said, for the first night, nothing happens. Although your handy unit tells you multiple times, especially with Circus Baby, let's motivate these animatronics by giving them a controlled shock.
And I gotta do. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I have to do it like this. Why am I gonna make them mad? Why do I want Dancy Pants to be mad at me?
Which, if you're wondering what he's referencing there, he's referencing Markiplier's famous playthrough of this series.
And another one, I'll do Funtime Foxy too. If I have any intention on angering any animatronic, it's that Foxy is a big old bag of deets. It hates me.
Yeah. That word
I blocked it out, don't worry.
I appreciate that. He was going to make a reference to a certain piece of anatomy. And let's just say the only time that we're saying that word is if you're saying a nickname for a guy named Richard.
Yes.
But anyways, night 1, really nothing happens, although you give the animatronics controlled shocks. And weirdly, something's banging on the vents that you crawl through on the way out. Do we ever know what that is, or is that just something random?
That's just something random. We never figured out what it was.
Okay.
All we know is that it was in Baby's place.
Right.
Which I'm pretty much thinking it was the Bitty Babs that was doing that noise.
It could have been. So, with that, and I'm going to bring the picture up here again, Night 2 begins, and this is where you meet Angsty Teen. And we find out... Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, this whole establishment that you're in is underground.
Underneath FNAF 4's house.
Yes. And you learn that in the bonus night, I guess you could say. Or at least the alternate ending to Night 5. But anyways, I'm going to bring back the picture here. And I'm going to zoom in on this little hellspawn. So these are called the Bitty Babs. And yes, that is their actual name that Scott gave them. And these guys terrorize you for the first part of Night 2 because you're hiding behind this little door thingy.
You're hiding underneath the desk.
Yeah. And this is, by the way, where you hear Baby's voice for the first time. And suddenly these guys start trying to open the door on you. And this would be your first jump scare.
If you don't do it correctly.
Exactly. So from there, you have to make your way out of the room where these guys are and crawl through the Ballora gallery, which again, Ballora's the lady with her eyes closed right there. Also, just a side note, look very closely inside her mouth and how sharp those teeth are. Why does that need to be a thing? And you go
because they said here's a little fun fact about Ballora. The reason why she has the sharp teeth is because they think that one of the Nightmare animatronics actually went underground and took control of her body.
But again, that's assuming that the Nightmare animatronics are actually real.
But here's the thing. If you look at the map, when you get to through the Ballora gallery, you get to the boiler room. If you
Yes.
look at the map when you're in the boiler room, if you see on the sides of the screen, there's other parts of the building that aren't really part of the building. It's actually the FNAF 4 house, and there's vents underneath those places. So there's technically, they think that there's a door somewhere in the house that leads down into this underground facility, and
Right.
they believe it's in one of those rooms that Plushtrap goes into.
I could kind of see it, but again, I'm still not 100% convinced. Like, say what you want about Dream Theory. I'm still not 100% convinced that the nightmare animatronics were actually real.
But
Maybe that's
what Ballora is a recreation of is actually the wife of William Afton, the character you're playing as in this game.
Wait, hold on. I thought you were playing as Michael Afton in this game.
No, you're playing as William Afton. Michael Afton is in FNAF 6 and the Scrap Trap suit.
Well, hold on. How are you playing as William Afton if he's in Springtrap?
This is before times. This is 30 years before the restaurant, before Fazbear Frights actually opened. But this is actually the futuristic form of Fazbear Frights.
Okay. The reason I'm questioning is because, and I know you're going to hate me for this, I still have the timeline as Matt Pat suggested it in my head. So that's where the confusion's coming from.
It could be Mike, but people are also theorizing that it's William you're playing as in the building.
I don't know. I still think it is Mike, because remember, at the end of the custom night that you do here, when he says, "I'm going to come find you," in that really slowed down way, it sounds really mechanical.
Which actually has a name for it. It's called Dark Springtrap.
Yeah. So I don't know.
It could be Michael because the scooping room. That's probably where it comes into play.
Yeah, I do think it is Michael Afton that we're playing as here.
And you want to hear another fact about this? The outline of the character that's in the mirror when his eyes light up
is Rick Astley.
Guess what that character is?
Rick Astley.
Yes.
Yes, which, if you don't know, and I'm gonna do it and risk the copyright strike here, but he is the guy famous for singing "Never Gonna Give You Up, Never Gonna Let You Down, Never Gonna Run Around and Desert You, Never Gonna Make You Cry, Never Gonna Say Goodbye, Never Gonna Tell a Lie and Hurt You." I used to know that full song. I need to practice that one back up.
But Ballora is the wife of William Afton, and Baby is the daughter of William Afton.
Yes. But anyways, going back, Night 2 ends with basically you turning on the power, as you said, to all of the different rooms and not rooms, and avoiding Freddy.
Funtime Freddy.
Yes.
That's trying to kill you.
Night 3 involves you taking apart Freddy and sending him for maintenance, while also avoiding Foxy on the way. And this night is also important.
For it.
So what?
You got to go through Funtime Auditorium to get to the breaker room.
And avoid Foxy.
Make sure Foxy doesn't get you.
Exactly.
Which is probably the most terrifying jump scare out of the whole series, because you never expect him to come out of their darkness and get you.
And what you just said there works in the favor of the game, because this night also has the first and only mandatory jump scare, where you have to get jump scared in order to progress to Night 4. It's now, real quick, I do want to mention this. There's no good way to put it in, so I'm just going to throw it in here. At the end of each night up to this point, you go home, eat popcorn, and watch an animated soap drama about a vampire and a girl, and apparently the vampire is a deadbeat dad.
And it's the immortal and the despised mistress, Vlad and Clara.
Yes, Clara, the baby, is it mine?
Yeah. I'm a vampire. I don't get paychecks. You
So-
work the night shift at the Casa Taco. Don't lie to me.
Oh, the humanity.
Good, I like it warm. Good, but I also set the house on fire.
Oh my goodness. Yes, it's just cheesiness is all it is. However,
Enjoy some time at home.
However, you don't get that at the end of night 3 because, again, mandatory jump scare. And you wake up in the scooping room, trapped inside a spring lock suit. Now, let me ask you this. Do we ever figure out what character specifically you're in, or is it just a generic spring lock suit?
It's just a generic spring lock suit.
Okay.
And back to the prize at hand. Before we move on, I gotta tell you a couple of things that happened in the house when you're watching Vlad and Clara doing their drama thing.
Yeah.
On rare occasions, on the left of the house, there's a mini arena that can appear in your house, and on the right, Biddy Bab can also appear.
Is
in
this
your
just on
house.
any night?
It's a rare occasion thing.
I gotta look this up.
And there's also this only happened once by a YouTuber that I don't remember his name, but there's actually an Easter egg in the popcorn bowl where the mini arena actually pops in the popcorn bowl. It's just the head of the mini arena.
Yo, dude, I found a picture of it. Let me pull this up real quick.
I think it's either Biddy Bab on the right or left, and it's mini arena on the right or left. I can't remember. I don't know my left directions.
Do you see it?
Yeah, that's the Biddy Bab.
Yep, so you were telling the truth. Although, then again, this picture has a DeviantArt watermark on it, so this could be a hoax.
But
anyways,
there's also Biddy Bab to be there's a whole lot of other Biddy Bab, like the room where Circus Baby is in the gallery. You can actually see a Biddy Bab popping his head up in the like you know where where it looks like Balloon Boy's hanging there.
Mm-hmm.
Directly below that, there's
Okay.
on rare occasions a Biddy Bab can appear there, and also a Biddy Bab can also appear when you're on your descent down to the facility in the elevator all the way down.
Interesting.
So mini arenas and Biddy Babs are scattered throughout the entire area. In the maintenance room, where Ballora Gallery and Fun Auditorium is, you know those little three heads that are like over by Ballora.
Yes.
They're on rare occasions the mini arena can appear there, and also the innard mask that's on top of the facility in there can actually disappear, and it actually is a Lolbits mask instead of innards.
I mean, I do know that his mask does disappear on night 5, foreshadowing. But
yes.
Going back to night 4, you see Ballora getting brought in, and something happens to her.
She gets scooped.
She gets scooped. And for the entire rest of the night, you've got this disturbing image staring at you. Like that eye. Look at that eye. Why is that like that?
Honestly, I can't tell you why it's like that. All I know is that the way it looks, Ballora is actually watching you. She's still alive. She's still alive, but she's just watching you.
Yeah, and here's the thing: that eye almost looks human.
And her eyes are actually purple. Her eyes are closed throughout the entire thing, but her eyes are actually purple.
Right.
Like Bonnie's.
So basically, you've got to survive trying to keep the spring locks off of you while the mini arenas are climbing in you. And this night, of all the Five Nights at Freddy's nights, is the most infamous for being, at least before the patch, the single most hardest thing. Do you
had to survive for 3 minutes without any of the spring locks coming loose.
And I think so many people were having this to the point that Scott basically had to go in and patch out, or at least patch something to make it easier.
Because it was just too tedious.
Exactly.
You even have to wiggle the thing, which actually makes the spring locks come loose even more. But you got to wiggle in order for the mini readers not to get you.
Yes, which also, forgive me, this is going to be very cringe, but that also gave a good birth to another Markiplier meme of I was wig waggling. I was wabble.
I was wabble jabbling.
Yes. I couldn't say it in his voice. I just couldn't bring that cringe upon myself.
If you need to do something on Markiplier, I can do it because I can do his voice pretty much, as you saw right there.
Okay. So, after that is night 5. And give me 1 second here.
Night 5, you're all alone.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's no one there except for Baby. But in the Ballora Gallery and the Funtime Auditorium, there's 2 technicians that are actually hanging from the stages, like noosed.
Right. And basically, these are 2 technicians that came down, something happened to them, and they found themselves hung from a noose. And you go into the same room where you were doing maintenance on Freddy, and now you got to do it on Baby. And if you follow Baby's directions, including going back, you find yourself in the scooping room where you die and get scooped. I know I'm glossing over a bit of stuff, but real quick, just to let you know, Jeff, we do need to wrap this up in the next 20 minutes, okay?
All right, so we'll probably just talk about Sister Location tonight.
Okay.
And then we can do the other games later on.
Yeah, we'll get as far as we can.
Because Sister Location is just so complex. There's a whole bunch of different things. Because there's also the custom night too.
True. So,
and there's still stuff in the custom night as well that we still need to talk about.
Yeah. So the main game pretty much ends with you getting scooped. Like, there's no happy ending here. However, there's an alternate ending where you can disobey Baby's voice and you go into this secret room and boom, you're playing the classic Five Nights at Freddy's gameplay where now, and I'm going to bring the picture up one more time, you've got this monstrosity right here on the far left stalking you. This is Ennard. And he is basically a full amalgamation of all of the Funtime animatronics all in one. And apparently the whole reason they're doing this, and the whole reason they scoop you in the real ending, is because they want to escape their confinement in the laboratory or whatever downstairs. But in order to do that, they've got to look human. So without you, this is the best they got.
Is this monstrosity right here?
Yes.
And and another fun fact. There's also rare boot images on Sister Location as well, where it's like shows like when you like access a new room or like a loading screen, like before the night ends, and it's actually the blueprints of what these characters can actually do.
Mm-hmm.
And that takes me to Ballora exactly, which kind of confuses me because Ballora is actually cheating in Custom Night because one of her things is that she can only sense people by movement, and you're not even moving at all.
Mm-hmm.
And she knows exactly where you're at. So that's pretty much cheating because Ballora can only get you by if you're moving or not.
Hold on, we got to rewind real quick. We got to rewind to something. You said earlier that Ballora is based a lot on Scott Cawthon's wife.
No. Williams.
Sorry,
wife.
William's wife. That's what I meant to say. Well, have a listen to this and give me your thoughts on it. And I'm going to try and sing this the way that she does. Why do you hide inside your walls when there is music in my halls? All I see is an empty tomb. No more joy, an empty tomb. It's so good to sing all day, to dance and spin, to fly away. You get the idea.
Yeah, but based on primacy, security breach, which is like 40 years into the future. If you look in one of the rooms before you go decommission Chica, there's actually a table. Well, this is after you decommission Chica when you leave the sewers. There's this room that has like a whole lot of postage notes around it. And there's a staircase that you have to go up to get back into the laundry room. On your way up, there's a table on the side of the screen that has these security staff bots dressed up as the Atkins family. Which there's Circus Baby. There's a headless security bot, which is the crying child from FNAF 4. There's two men ones. There's one with a top hat, which is inspired on William Afton, and there's also one that's a pizza delivery boy, which was the kid's brother. But there's another security bot there that has blue hair and looks exactly like Ballora. So why is if Ballora is not part of that family, then why is she at that table?
Who knows?
But we'll talk about that when we get to security breach.
Yes. So, anyways, if you make it through the alternate ending, you do go home, although Ennard follows you home.
And he's all beaten and battered up.
Exactly.
Like he followed you there.
Yeah. But again, that's not the correct ending. You getting scooped is the canon true ending.
The one where Ennard shows up in your house is the fake ending.
Yes. So, why do you think Scott did that?
That I'm not sure of, to be honest on that. But there's another thing in that room in the room where you fight Ennard. Those three computers that are on the desk. And there's like a little pad there that has numbers. If you type in 1983, which is another thing, why does the FNAF 4 house show up on those monitors if you type in 1983?
It's a reference, of course, to the bite of 83.
Yes, but why in all the facility? Why is it only present in that room? And why does it look like there's vents that are like underneath the house that go into the facility?
Maybe because FNAF 4 and I don't know. I was gonna say maybe it's because FNAF 4 and Sister Location take place at the same time, but that can't be right.
That can't be right because this is 30 years before after that incident.
Right.
Plus, there's also a thing also in that room with Ennard that these numbers actually are like being spelled out in this demonic voice, which is not Ennard.
Mm-hmm.
There's 1, 7, 8, 5. So, if you put that together, there's only one year that comes to play into that, and that is 1875. But why are those numbers appearing in Sister Location? This is 30 years before this incident happened. Why is this 187? What is this 1875 representing?
I don't know. I honestly hadn't even heard that before.
That also takes you to the AR version, where there's an 8-bit baby that actually has those numbers around her when she haywires. So there has to be a reason for these numbers to be spelled out in the facility.
Hmm.
And I'm sorry if I talked over you again.
No, it's fine. It's fine. So let's see. And then, of course, a custom night gets added in. And that, with the end of each night, adds in a whole bunch of lore because you get more of those 8-bit minigames showing the slow degradation of who we assume to be Michael Lafton. Because, again, the whole reason that the Fun Times took him over is so that they could appear human. But, of course, what happens to a dead body the longer it's exposed?
It starts to rot.
Exactly, and that's exactly what happens to Michael Lafton until it becomes apparent that the Fun Times simply cannot use it anymore. The disguise has failed. So they abandon ship into the sewer, and yet
Like they come out of
over,
the purple guy's chest and spit into the sewer.
yeah,
And then all of a sudden, you hear this voice that
it's a
sounds like a
baby's
circus
voice.
baby, and it's saying you won't die.
over and over again.
And then, at the end of it all, then the eyes appear in the sewer.
And the corpse just stands right back up. So yeah, that ultimately plays into Sister Location. But is there anything that I missed before we go on to that? Or is there anything we missed?
Not really, no. We pretty much covered everything.
Okay. Tell you what, if you're all right with it, let's go ahead and end the stream here. I know this was a bit shorter than we first thought, but let's go ahead and end the stream here because we're going to have a lot to talk about also
With FNAF 6.
With FNAF 6 and Ultimate Custom Nights.
Because there's a whole lot of new things that happen in these two games.
Yep. So with that, we're going to go ahead and shut down for the night. Thank you, of course, Jeff, for doing this. And I tell you what, can we come back Sunday and do what we didn't get to tonight?
This coming Sunday?
This coming Sunday.
Yes, because all I have on Sunday is I have to stream and I have church. So
okay. So how does I know Black Dragon, but something's come up that I got to take care of. So don't worry, everything's fine. I just need to give someone a phone call is all. But we'll say 9:00 in the evening Sunday.
Works for me.
All right. So with that, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to hit like and subscribe if you haven't already.
Or whatever. So
yep.
I had to do the angsty tea.
Of course. And we will see you guys later.
Exotic butters.